Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in this week, and as we continue through this series, and I just want to say hello, and I want to say I'm hopeful that we won't have to do this for a terribly much longer time. I think that we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for continuing to tune in as we start to explore. What does it look like to open back up? What does it look like for us to begin to ease back into society? So hopefully, I hope that you will pray with me that this is not what we have to do for a long, extended period into the future. But I want to talk tonight about something that has happened in my life, and it's something that's probably happened in yours. Is as my sort of schedule has gotten thrown out the window in these last couple of months, a phenomenon that I've seen within me is that my pursuit of excellence, my work ethic, when my routine has gotten thrown out the window, it's hard to maintain the same level of work and effort and excellence because we just sit around. Although we have all this time on our hands, we sit and we say, well, I don't know what to do. We say we'll waste a bunch of time on things that aren't necessarily bad things in and of themselves, but they don't bring a lot of benefit to our lives. They don't make our lives easier. And so how do we maintain a pursuit of excellence? How do we maintain, or why should we continue to work hard, even when our lives have been sort of pushed into stall for this season of life? And I want to ask you this question: when was the last time, if you are honest with yourself, that you gave 100% of your effort to something? Whether it was in your personal life, whether it was at your job, whether it was in your spiritual life or with a hobby, what can you say that you gave everything, that you gave all of your effort to? And then maybe a follow-up question to that is, if there was something that you gave 100% of your effort to, how has that thing made a big, vast impact on your life? Because if you're like me, and as I answer those questions, the things that it's easy for me to give effort to, it's easy for me to give interest to, aren't necessarily the things that are the most important priorities to me. Like, it's easy for me to go and work on my golf swing because I love playing golf. It's a fun thing for me. And working on my golf swing is not a bad thing, but it doesn't necessarily improve all the relationships in my life. It doesn't necessarily improve my relationship with God. And so I think we will give our effort to things, but it's not always to the things that are the most important priorities in our lives. And so what I want us to do is to look at excellence and to look at how God calls us to pursue Him with excellence. Because I'll say this, until we pursue a relationship with Christ with excellence, nothing else in our life is ever going to feel full. It's never going to feel the way it could feel. We're never going to be satisfied in the way we could. And so I want to look at a passage in Matthew 22, and I'm just going to read a couple of verses for you. I'll have a few other verses to support these ideas, but this is kind of the main passage, okay? Matthew 22, verses 37 through 38. It says this: "And he said to him, 'You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it: you shall love your neighbor as yourself.'" That was 37 through 39. But when we think about the Christian life, and talking about walking with Jesus in a relationship with Him, an essential part of honoring God in that relationship is the pursuit of excellence. It's the pursuit of living life well. And if you had to define excellence, Brother Danny gave an excellent a great and excellent definition of excellence a couple of years ago, where he said that excellence is the result of caring more than others think is wise, risking more than others think is safe. It is dreaming more than others think is practical, and expecting more than others think is possible. And so something that I want you to see there is real excellence. If we're going to do our relationship with Christ well, if we're going to live life well in general, real excellence is not simply just doing everything perfectly. That's not in that definition, and I don't think that that's necessarily the essence of excellence. I think that when we're talking about doing things with excellence, quality is important. You can't just say you just put 100% of your effort into doing something, but don't worry about whether you're doing it well or not. Quality is important, but effort is essential. Effort is essential to excellence. Quality is important, but it's attached to effort. When we think about doing things with excellence, we tend to think about doing them perfectly. Um, but when you think about living an entire life with excellence or walking in a relationship with excellence, all of us know we're never going to have a perfect relationship with anyone in our lives. And odds are, in your relationship with Christ, you've stumbled at times. And so if perfection is a standard, that's not attainable for us. But what Jesus is calling us to do here is to give everything that you have, give 100% of your effort to your walk with Christ. Give 100% of your effort to your love for God, and then watch how it affects every other arena of your life. But we can do everything to the best of our ability. So often, especially in our relationship with Christ, but in life in general, we will settle for, oh, that's just good enough. We'll settle for, oh, that's a B. I'll take a B. And Lord knows, when I was in college, that was my philosophy. C's get degrees. But when you pay attention to Jesus' life, our greatest leader and our example never settled for good enough. Jesus lived his life with excellence, and he calls us to do the same. So 3 reasons that we should try to pursue excellence and give 100% of our effort. And the first is this, the glory of God. We give our effort because of the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do everything for the glory of God. That God, if he is infinitely perfect and infinitely creative and infinitely holy and infinitely good and all these other things, if God is the epitome of perfection, and we by nature are worshipers, whether we worship people, whether we worship our jobs, whether we worship money, whatever you worship, we are worshipers by nature. Nothing else deserves our true, real worship than God. There's nothing more worthy of our worship than him. If worship is not just singing songs, but the way that we live, what message does half-baked worship send? We show how much we care about something by the effort that we put into it. We show how much we care about something by the effort that we put into it. As Christ followers, we ought to pour our hearts into God and pour our hearts into other people because it brings honor to the God that we love so much, the God that died so that we might be with him. It brings honor to us when we will give our lives to extend his glory to the ends of the earth. So we pursue excellence for the glory of God, but we also pursue excellence by making the most of our opportunities. Ephesians 5:15-16 says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. I'm going to say something that Beyonce has already driven into our heads, but it may be a shock to you. All of us are replaceable. Every single one of us are replaceable. It doesn't matter how good you are at whatever you do. All of us are replaceable. It is a massive privilege to be placed in a position of leadership, which all of us are as Christians. It is a massive privilege to be placed in the positions that we are in. And we have to understand that God can put whoever he wants in whatever leadership role that he wants to put them in. And so our talent may open doors for us in the beginning, but our effort will indicate how long we get to stay. So your initial moment with Jesus might open the door for you and might show you how beautiful he is, but you will only reap the benefits of that continuing relationship and walk with Jesus as you continue to put effort and devotion into that. And the same principle is true in our daily lives. Your talent may get you in the door, but it's the way that you work after you get in the door that dictates how far you go, whether it's with a job or whether it's with a relationship, whatever. Your talent or your giftings or your first-hand experience might open the door, but it's the effort that you put into it after that that will continue that relationship and that continue that opportunity. And the last reason that we pursue excellence is for our eternal reward. And this is a selfish reason, but that's not to say that it's not worth mentioning. Colossians 3:23 through 24 says, "Whatever you are doing, work at it with enthusiasm, as to the Lord and not for people, because you know that you will receive your inheritance from the Lord as the reward. Serve the Lord Christ." And 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may be paid back according to what he has done while in the body, whether good or evil." So whether for good or bad reward, your actions will be recognized by the Lord. It matters how much you give to following Christ and to leading others. Don't think that no one notices. Don't think that, oh, I'll just live a quiet, insignificant life. I'll get my salvation, and then I'll just kind of coast from here on out. Understand, that's not going to be beneficial to you here. There's joy in worshiping Christ. It's what we were created to do. There's joy in giving 100% of ourselves to life and giving 100% of ourselves to our walks with Christ, giving our effort and focus to this. But also, this will be recognized one day. Whether you gave as much as you could to the cause of Christ, to loving God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength, or whether you just tried to coast, or whether you checked out, as is my tendency, and as whether it's probably a lot of yours that are watching this. I have a tendency, and as all of us do, to just try to check out and say, oh, someone else will do it. But Christ calls us to be people that say, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. So some principles to remember regarding excellence, and then we'll pray and be done. We don't pursue excellence to be superior to people. We pursue excellence because Christ called us to, and because our great example, our great leader did already. The pursuit of excellence is not dictated by the nature of the task that we're doing. Sometimes we may feel like we're in a job or we're in a season where I don't really want to do this. But our pursuit of excellence cannot be dictated by the nature of the task that we're doing, but by our love for our Father who sent us to do that task. Our pursuit of excellence is not about choosing between good and bad, but what is best. The pursuit of excellence is all-inclusive. That means that nothing is off the table when we're talking about sacrificing to make something happen. There's nothing off the table as far as removing things from my schedule so that I can spend time with the Father in devotion to Him. The pursuit of excellence is a heart issue, and that's the real question that I want to leave you with. Regarding your walk with Christ, or regarding your work, whatever job that you're working at right now, regarding your schoolwork, regarding relationships that are in your life right now, just a question to ask you. And I would ask that we have a tendency to not be self-introspective, but this is an opportunity to do so. Let me ask this question. How much do you care? And how much do you just shrug it off and just coast through life? This question, the way you answer this question, is probably going to be a litmus test for how much joy are you experiencing in your walk with Christ? How much joy are you experiencing in the relationships, the friendships, and significant others in your life? This question, how much do you care? It's going to dictate whether you're flourishing at work, or whether you're flourishing in school, or whether you're just trying to just coast through and get it done. And let me just say, even as I ask these questions, even as I point out these principles, I understand this is something that I didn't excel at when I was an undergrad, and it's something that I continue to struggle with even now, as I have a tendency to check out and to coast. But let me just offer this as an encouragement. You might be encouraged to just check out during this time. And even as we start to move back towards reopening, because your routine has been thrown out the window, the tendency might be to I'll just wait it out. when this has been an amazing opportunity for us to re-examine our priorities and re-examine what am I putting my effort into, and how can I shift that towards the things that are really going to benefit me now, they're really going to benefit others now, but also really going to benefit me in the future. Would you pray with me? Father, thank you so much for just the reality that you pursued us with excellence. You pursued us even to the point of death. You gave everything that you had so that we might be able to know you and love you and to be close with you. And so, Father, I ask that you would forgive us for where we check out, for when we don't give our best, when we don't give the best of our abilities to life and to our relationship with you. But would you empower us to do so moving forward? Would you empower us to give 100% of our effort, that we would be spent at the end of our days and at the end of our weeks and at the end of our months and at the end of our lives, because we gave as much as we could give to loving you and loving other people. Would you encourage us as we do this? Would you forgive us where we fail and not let us get torn down when we fail? But Father, would we not be people that didn't see you move in our lives because of a lack of trying? Father, would we give our lives to you so that we might see you change us from the inside out and multiply our joy in you, because that's what we need. That's what we were created for. So Father, I just ask you would make that happen in us. We love you and we thank you so much. In your name we pray. Amen. Love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Like I said, I hope that moving forward, we're approaching the end of this time so that we can be back together again. But until then, I love you and I'm praying hard for you, and I hope that you're having a great week. Thanks, guys.